This region is due to lose both of its Coastguard control centres as part of a big reorganisation across the country. Great Yarmouth Coastguard and the station at Walton on the Naze cover the stretch of coast from the Wash down to the Thames estuary. When they go, the nearest station will be Humber Coastguard in Yorkshire, but that will only operate during daylight hours. The rest of the time, everything will be handled from 3 operational centres in Aberdeen, the Southampton area and Dover.
When they get an emergency call, they can be out on the water in just 4 minutes, thanks to a close relationship between the crews and the Coastguard. This is the control centre at Great Yarmouth. The team that work here, together with the lifeboat crews, pride themselves on local knowledge that saves lives. But in the future, the nearest Coastguard station could be in Yorkshire.
I think it'll affect all the lifeboats around the country. I mean, local knowledge is the main thing. It's like putting people from Nottingham on board the lifeboat. They don't know the local knowledge. Yeah, and it's the same with the Coastguards. We need the Coastguards in this area. It's got potential to put lives in danger if we take the Coastguards away from Great Yarmouth.
Not so, says the government, which claims that this reorganisation is not just about saving money, but about improving the existing service and making better use of the volunteer Coastguard.
The existing system is nearly 40 years old. It's based on a 40-year-old system, and I have not got the resilience. If something goes wrong, if we have power cuts in certain parts of the country, I have no cover. If we have the really bad snow that's coming this weekend, I don't have the resilience within the system. That we will have with the new technology and the new investment. So they shouldn't be worried. The frontline crews will be there, just someone different in a different part of the country answering the calls.
Meanwhile, the future of the RAF search and rescue operation at Wattisham in Suffolk also remains uncertain tonight. Earlier today, the government postponed an announcement on a planned sell-off of the service. There'll now be a 14-week consultation on the proposals affecting the way our Coastguard is run. Those on the front line say it's imperative that any changes do not put lives at risk. Amelia Reynolds, BBC Look East.
A lecturer in criminal law at the University of East Anglia is tonight in prison after being convicted of having child pornography on his computer. More than 1,300 indecent images were found at the home of Julian Myerscough. He's now planning to appeal.
Already a convicted paedophile, suspended from his post as a law lecturer at the UEA and having lost a business he also ran, Julian Myerscough arrived at Ipswich Crown Court today for sentence, still protesting his innocence.
It's been a nightmare. You know, you lose everything in this. I just want justice to be done.
He said he didn't know what sentence to expect. He didn't bring an overnight bag. He should have, because a prison term was looming.
Julian Myerscough represented himself for the bulk of this trial, and today before sentence he chose to present his own mitigation. He said he wasn't trying to minimise the sense of revulsion and horror over the images found. But Judge John DeVoe said it was clear he had had a long-standing interest in the indecent imagery of children. He told him the totality of the evidence demonstrated you were a paedophile at work.
The 48-year-old had been convicted of 3 charges of making indecent photographs of children and 2 of possessing them. He was found not guilty of 13 other child pornography charges. The case followed a police raid on his home in Lowestoft last year.
This man will undoubtedly lose his job and has lost his standing in the community. It's quite clear that no matter what job you do for a living, if you view such images, we will trace you, we will prosecute you, and you will be convicted and you will pay the ultimate price.
Julian Myerscough was given a 15-month prison term. The judge said he would serve half of that before being considered for release on licence. Kevin Birch, BBC Look East, in Ipswich.
New railway lines may be needed from Norfolk, Suffolk and Essex into London to cope with increased demand. A new report by Network Rail predicts that passenger numbers on the line will grow by a third at peak times over the next 20 years. It means overcrowding will become a major problem.
Cambridgeshire's controversial guided busway should now open in the new year, despite plans for the contractors to hand it over before Christmas. Today, testing of the whole route began, and Stuart Ratcliffe was on board.
This controversial project is now nearly 2 years late, but today buses were running to test the signalling and traffic lights along the route. Tests went well, but the council says there are still outstanding defects which the contractor Bam Nuttall hasn't yet fixed, such as a flooded cycleway and a leaking viaduct. But Bamnuttall says these aren't defects, so when the guideway is finally handed over, it's likely the defects will remain.
The way the contract works, the contractor has 28 days after completion to fix any defects. From all the discussion we've had with Bamnuttall, we've no expectation they're actually going to do that, so we're arranging for one of our other contractors who does other work for the County Council to step in and fix these defects.
The council says it won't give an exact opening date, but expects it to be in the late spring. So whilst the delays and the wrangles continue, the bus operators are left with an expensive fleet of purpose-built buses, and the question on the side of those buses remains unanswered.
It's been very frustrating, as you've seen today. It's a high-quality service, it's a good ride, and the sooner we can get on there, the better.
Bamnuttall insists it has completed the guideway to a good standard and says as far as it's concerned, the northern section could have opened over a year ago. And because of the delays, some estimates suggest the initial cost of £116 million has now rocketed to nearly £180 million. But even when the guided busway does open, that's by no means the end of the story. The question of who will eventually pay for what will probably only be settled in the courts. Stuart Radcliffe, BBC Look East, Cambridge.
In football, the Ipswich manager Roy Keane admits that time is running out to save his job. The club has lost 6 games in a row in a championship, and they're just 3 points clear of the relegation zone. They're at home to Leicester on Saturday, and the manager knows one more defeat could be one too many.
I've always been lucky anyway. I've been a very lucky person. But that patience does run out. Let's not kid ourselves. You know, that I think I've been luckier than others in terms of my own career. But listen, yeah, we want to win the game on Saturday. What happens Saturday night, who knows? But let's go out and do our best, and I keep saying what will be, will be. If we're not good enough on Saturday, then the owner might make a decision, but that's up to the owner. I've just got to go out and do my best.